Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to present that virus bulletin for the fourth time in a row. This year, I'm teaming up with my friend and my former colleague, Roberto. Today, we will discuss a cyber threat actor that we've been tracking since 2022. This threat actor has been exploiting Russia-Ukraine conflict for their cyber espionage activities. I'd like to clarify that our talk is not political. We are solely focusing on technical aspect of this threat actor, and we do not support or endorse any political entity or groups. Before we begin our presentation, we will introduce ourselves. Roberto.
Hi, everyone. My name is Roberto Santos. I'm also very pleased to be here with Hossein presenting. I've been immersed in the work of reverse engineer for many years from now, and with a special focus on APT research. Now I'm working as an independent researcher and acting on my own. So if you want to talk with me or contact me, you can use the Twitter account that is there.
I'm Hossein Jazi, a senior threat and intelligence specialist at Fortinet. You probably recognize me from Twitter, where I share a lot of threat intel stuff. In my role, I mainly focus on monitoring and tracking cyber threat actors, especially nation-state ones. This involves cyber threat hunting, malware reverse engineering, infrastructure analysis, and APT attribution. I often shared my discoveries through blog posts or presenting at security conferences. So what we will talk about in this presentation. First, we will introduce the threat actor. Then we provide the timeline of operations of this threat actor, highlighting its long history. After that, we will deep dive into most recent operation of this threat actor. In the last two sections, we will talk about who they target and how we attribute this threat actor. Finally, we will wrap up our presentation with the conclusion. Russia and Ukraine have been in conflict since 2014 when Donetsk and Luhansk declared independence. Our investigation began when we found an interesting lure that was targeting eastern Ukraine. It was September 2022, and since that time, we've been tracking everything under codename RedStinger. This threat actor has targeted various industries such as military, transportation, and critical infrastructure, and they have the capability to develop their own custom toolset to exfiltrate sensitive data, such as snapshots, USB drive, keyboard inputs, and microphone recordings. In this presentation, we will deep dive into activities of this threat actor that we've been tracking. And also, we will talk about the connections between this threat actor to Operation Groundbait and Operation Bugdrop. Okay, let's discuss the timeline of this threat actor operations. As I briefly mentioned, this threat actor has been connected to Operation Groundbait. Operation Groundbait was reported by ESET in 2016, and they were talk about this threat actor, operation activities from 2016 to 2017. They mentioned that this operation mainly targeted individuals in Ukraine for cyber espionage, and their activities has spiked in 2015 during Russia-Ukraine conflict. And I should mention that the origin of this threat actor goes back to 2008. Another operation we were able to link to this threat actor is Operation Bugdrop. Operation Bugdrop was reported by CyberX Labs in 2017. They reported that this threat actor has targeted the industries such as scientific research, media, and critical infrastructure, and in Ukraine, and they were able to exfiltrate sensitive data such as audio recordings, password documents. From 2017 to 2020, several research reports indicated some activities of this threat actor. And lastly, the set of operations that we will talk about are the operations we've been tracking as a codename RedStinger. This slide provides the timeline of the operations that we've been tracking since September to 2022, and it goes back to 2020. As you can see, the first operation took place in December 2020, and it was followed by operation number 2 in April 2021. And then operation number 3 happened in September 2021, and followed by operation number 4 in February 2022. The last 2 operations happened in September 2022 and November 2022. I should mention that operation number 6 is an undocumented operation, and we will discuss this operation in this presentation. Roberto will provide the operation's technical details.
So in this section, we will briefly describe how RedStinger operated since 2020. So their attacks typically follow 3 basic steps. Each of these steps had unique tactics, technique, and procedures. So by analyzing these TTPs, we were able to enhance our understanding and uncover additional campaigns. So first stage that we have identified in these attacks was the infection phase. So this phase starts when the victim first executes the malware, and after a series of actions, either debug cell or graph cell get executed. So infection phase covers everything from when the user first activates the malware to the execution of debug cell. So as Hossein told, the first campaign that we have discovered was Operation 5. Searching for common TTPs used during Operation 5, we were able to identify that at least 6 different campaigns. So the first of these campaigns was Operation 1. And in this slide, you can see common TTPs employed by RedStinger during this infection phase. This includes the use of a compressed file, typically an MCI file, but we see also that they were using zip files, R files, or even tar files. And usually also some decoy file is shown to the user. And this kill chain is formed by a pretty recognizable set of BBS files and PowerShell files, and yeah, and it's finalized with debug cell. So debug cell is the final piece of malware that was used and in infection phase, and this is an artifact that is just associated with this group. So if you see that artifact, it's probably RedStinger behind it. And this is how debug cell looks like. Debug cell is essentially a backdoor that enables attackers to remotely execute small scripts and receive results by using Dropbox. So we have a different version that we call graph cell, and it serves this very similar purpose, but just using the graph API. So the way that debug cell works is that the attackers place 3 folders in Dropbox, and one will contain the files that the attackers want the victims to execute. The other will contain the results, and the final one will contain the heartbeat from clients. So this is Operation 2. It's pretty similar to what we saw previously in Operation 1. And this is the debug cell version that was used in Operation 2. And if you compare with the release that was used in Operation 1, you can see that just the authentication token changed here. And this is for Operation 3, but we will skip because we ran out of time. But basically what we were standing here is that all URLs that were used by RedStinger follow a pretty common pattern. All URLs use HTTP. Yeah, this is the one. All URLs use HTTP. All use an IP address instead of a domain name. All use an X string as part of the resource, and both were downloading also an MCI file. names were pretty common names, like things like attachment, document, etc. And more important, all IP addresses were part of the same autonomous system number, so you have there a lot of TTPs to search and find additional campaigns. So coming back to the attack stages, we already described and gave some examples about infection phase, so we can move to recon phase. So in this phase, what happened is that debug cell or graph cell are used to leverage the remote control capabilities. So let me escape for a moment Operation 4 and let's focus on Operation 5 because we have more info about recon phase on Operation 5. So this chart shows what the attackers were doing at recon phase during Operation 5 with exact date and hours. But it can be typical recon activity as listing files, running sysinfo, or things like that. So red shapes are things that we will see later, but yeah, you can see, for example, you can see they're starting Grok, and Grok was a utility that they were using. This is a utility that it's usually used by web admins or whatever to remotely control machines or see what are in the hard drives, etc. So this is all the recon phase. So if anyone is curious about these activities, it can be searched in our blog post. So finally, last stage will be exfiltration phase, where attackers use some tooling to do surveillance from victims. So we gathered exfiltration evidence from OP5 and Operation 4. So basically, attackers will implant a surveillance toolkit to do surveillance on the victim. So let me give the example that we found in Operation 4 and show how the attackers move to recon phase to exfiltration. So at some point of recon phase, attackers planted at least two artifacts. One was named Solar Tools and the other was bsecpack.mci. So for Solar Tools, it was just containing some utilities, but there is something important here, is that it was also seen in Operation 5, and I mean, it was the same file with the same hash seen in Operation 5. And if you remember those red box checks, Solar Tools appeared in that recon phase. And for bsecpack.mci contained files that were used to start exfiltration phase. So yeah, basically bsecpack.mci contained two different files. One was named ntuser.dat and the other was named ntinit.exe. So ntinit was developed as a Windows service, and ntuser.dat was like an aggregation of PE files. Those PE files were sorted and contained also a header and a config. So how do they did that? Well, by executing bsecpack, a new service is registered under the name NTM SCM. So at some point, the service control manager will get control and execute that malware. So basically, ntinit contains a little loader that is able to map a DLL inside its own private memory space and run that DLL in the same context. So if you look at the image, you will see that one of the exports part of MZ2 was called and passing MZ3 as parameter. So basically what happens is that MZ2 takes control from here. So first action that MZ2 will take is creating a new mobsync process. This is a process that is part of every model release of Windows. But thing is that mobsync code will be never executed because by using a technique called process doppelganging, MZ3 will be executed instead of mobsync. So MZ3 was in control right now, and by using the same technique that they were using at the beginning with ntinit.exe, NZ3 will run the only export in NZ4. So NZ4 is the final malware, sending and is the one that will start exfiltrating screenshots from victims and sending those to Dropbox. So the MZ4 behavior is governed by the configuration at the end of ntuser.dat, if you remember. And that is the configuration that we found in that case. That configuration was cipher indeed, and the key is contained in MZ4. So last operation that we know was Operation 6, and this was not included in our last report. This is a file that appeared in VirusTotal after publication, and we analyzed the file and we came to the conclusion that was also under RedStinger umbrella. So these are some of the coincidences that we found, and this is the GraphShell version that they used in that case. So you can see also that same folder names they were using the same folder names as they were using in Operation 5. So we have GraphShell, we have the same folder names. We can attribute to the RedStinger. And we know that this operation happened after Operation 5 because we can see the data, and this is something that was not written by the attackers. So for concluding this part, this is a simplified overview of the campaigns that we just talked about, and well, you can see there all the files and the relations that are between them.
So we were able to gather some information about the victims of these six operations. In operation number 4, the threat actor has targeted a military and critical infrastructure entity, and both of these entities were located was in central Ukraine, and it was pretty interesting because most of our victims' data indicated that the victims are located in eastern Ukraine, but these two victims were located in central Ukraine. In the case of critical infrastructure entity, they monitored an officer for extended period of time, and they were able to exfiltrate a wealth of data such as screenshots, audio recordings, passwords, and some sensitive documents. In operation number 5, they mainly targeted entities that were involved in the elections related to eastern Ukraine, especially elections in Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson in September 2022. More specifically, they were targeted Yasinavatia administration in Donetsk and member of DPR administration in Port Mariupol, and also we observed that they have targeted an advisor in Central Election Commission. Beyond the referendum-related victim, we found 2 additional targets. One appeared to be related to transportation, and the other one was a library in Vinnytsia, and still we are not sure why this threat actor has targeted these 2 victims, but we observed that in the operation number 4, they targeted another entity located in Vinnytsia.
So when we first published our investigation, as we had some clues about who could be RedStinger, it was still unclear. Main problem was that victims were located in Ukraine mostly, but sometimes they were aligned with Ukraine, and sometimes they were aligned with Russia. So that made attribution really tricky. But it seems to be that after our investigation, other researchers were able to connect RedStinger with a group that with a report written by ESET in 2016, and also with another report written by CyberX Labs, I recall in 2017. So we analyzed, we read that reports, we analyzed that reports, and we also believe that the same group was behind RedStinger. So we present our reasons supporting this idea in the following slides. So basically, the name of the operation that they did was Groundbait and Backdrop. Groundbait was from ESET and Backdrop was from CyberX Labs. So this image was extracted from ESET report, and it was personally shocking to see how 7 years ago other researchers faced the same problems that we have at the beginning. So as happened with RedStinger, some artifacts pointed to an Ukrainian actor and some artifacts pointed to a Russian actor. So this is another extract from Operation Groundbait report. It stands that researchers think that attackers named the malware something like PZZ. So we found also similar strings in Operation 4. And also if you remember those red boxes, we also found the same name scheme in Operation 5. And regarding backdrop or operation, reading the report, we have seen this information. It stands that the attackers use 3 folders that were named OBX, IBX, and RBX. So basically, we also found the name, the same naming scheme in some undocumented operations carried out by RedStinger. So we cannot make that information about those operations public, but yeah, the fact is that we also see the same folder names in other operations. So the question here is that, are those false flag or coincidence? So response from us is that we don't think so. We strongly believe that the group is the same. So first, we have a lot of data suggesting common patterns, but more important, it really do not make sense to us. I mean, if you think about that, it would be really easy for the attackers to plant false flag, but using a known actor or the usual suspects are APT28 or APT29. But it really do not make sense that you are trying to attribute the attack to a group that is almost forgotten. I mean, for the PZZ thing, the only information was contained in a PDF file, and the PDF file is not indexed by Google nor by any other search engine. So finding that relation is very tricky, and when you are planting false flag, you want the people to find that misunderstanding information, right? And also for the same for the CyberX lab report. I mean, that report, it's not even available online. You have to go to archive.org to find the report. So yeah, we also agree with the other researchers that RedStinger was the same actor as the one in Backdrop and Groundbait.
Okay, in conclusion, our presentation has shed light on the dynamics of cyber warfare in the region. We demonstrated that this threat actor has been active since 2008, and it has targeted various industries such as military, transportation, critical infrastructure, and entities that were involved in East Ukraine referendums. They have capability to develop their own tool set and exfiltrate sensitive data such as USB drive data, snapshots, keyboard the inputs, and audio recordings. And our investigation highlight their advanced nature and the ability to target a diverse set of victims. That's it for our presentation. Feel free to ask any question you might have. Thank you.